Welcome to Beacon of Creation, a weekly podcast on game design through the lens of Magic the Gathering. I'm Tim.
And I'm Peter, also known as MonoWhiteBorder.
We got our double dip of MonoWhiteBorder. We had you on last week just talking about Marvel Jumpstart, but now we have you on talking about one of the sets that you've worked on.
Mm-hmm.
This is another collaboration with our another community member, Redbay.
Yeah, we just finished our newest set that we're calling New Requiem, Crossfire, which is like a rebel punk, take it to the man protest kind of set.
A little cyberpunky.
Yes, it's got some future elements. It's got some like gritty urban elements. We use the temp name Rebels. Rebels, I think, pretty much summed up what we were going for the whole time.
Oh, okay. Does that mean that you guys started with the flavor here?
Yeah, so something we found out as we were doing sets is like, you can't do a custom Magic set if you don't have your flavor pre-scoped out. Like one of the hardest things to do about getting a custom set together is finding artwork, and you have to pick a theme that you're going to be able to compile enough artwork for, and that you're also like emotionally engaged with.
Mm-hmm.
I think Brad initially had this idea of wanting to do kind of like a music-y punk rock set. And then we naturally kind of just expanded that out to what if it was kind of more just like punk rock was a segment of it, but there was also a rebellious faction. Some of that rebellion was like military. There were people trying to like take it to the man. And then kind of this urban environment, which the graffiti artwork. We did a little bit of hacking in the set. All that stuff kind of just interwove to make the kind of feel that we have with this new Requiem set.
Mm-hmm. Like it's very colorful, I think, compared to maybe sometimes Cyberpunk has like the billboards or whatever in the background are colorful, but a lot of art that you've chosen is like Jet Grind Radio. It's maybe even future wasteland kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Bright, colorful skull art,
So we started off with this idea of we did want it to be more colorful, even than like Neon Kamigawa still feels like very black, like dark, like nothing's lit properly. So we wanted this to be colorful. We wanted it to be loud. We felt like that was like a personality trait. We just wanted it to be like loud, in your face kind of. And a lot of our original mechanics in the set idea that got thrown away basically was color based. So like you cared about the color of mana spent. It was supposed to be like a monocolor set, and then you were paying attention like I have a lot of blue cards in my hand and I care about the color blue. And that kind of went away. I think we struggled to get a good mechanical hook when we were playing around with that. And it's something we've wanted to touch for like ever, is trying to get into the color space. And every time we try it, it just like doesn't work. We just cannot figure out how to make color matters into a real thing. Like you can do devotion, and there's somebody in the channel doing Baroque right now where it's like there's a colors matters theme, but it's just really difficult to make it the whole set.
Yeah. I was looking at some Kamigawa cards while you were talking to kind of compare what you've got and that. I'd say Kamigawa is more ornate than it is colorful. And sometimes that does end up with something kind of pretty or striking. But there are sometimes like glowing windows in the background, but it's typically not aiming for, I don't know, art that a person makes. It's more like, look how complicated and crazy this monster is. Look how detailed the scrolls that this samurai has.
I think there's also like a dirty element to our set. Like there are some like clean lines and some that like clean glossy neon color, and like Kamigawa I think is very clean. I know Brad and I both have like an affinity for like dirty grungy looking stuff. You can see that in Wrenchmar. Like Wrenchmar is literally in like a giant junkyard dumpster.
Mad
like
Max,
so yeah, it makes sense that this set we still wanted to have that. Like there's like characters with like trash sitting around them and they're like slobs. The streets are like smoky and have litter all over them. And then like my favorite part is there's a ton of graffiti in the set. We knew from the outset we wanted to have this big splashy graffiti. And I think the graffiti is cool because it makes the set look disorganized,
Hmm.
but it's also clean and bright. Like it's fun to look at the graffiti. The graffiti is not
Hmm.
trash, but it is not what a city block is quote unquote supposed to look like. Like graffiti is a sign that somebody was here and they were doing something that was against the grain or that was inappropriate that they shouldn't have been doing.
Coming from the other sets, I remember we had an episode on you guys designing the kind of a cinematic set in like a month.
Yep.
Was the same sort of goal present here? Or this was cooking for a longer time.
No, this was in the oven for way longer.
Yeah.
So the 1 month set was interesting. We had just finished Wrenchmar. We were feeling good, and we had gone to playtest Wrenchmar a bunch. And kind of
Hmm.
I think we still love Wrenchmar. Like, don't get me wrong, we love going back and looking at it. But we were ready to try and do something new. Like Wrenchmar has a bunch of these like they're not flaws, and it's funny because Brad has kind of worked a lot of them out. But it was raw in the sense of we hadn't done something like this before. We were ready to take what we learned in doing it the first time with Wrenchmar, where the goal of Wrenchmar was like complete the set, finish a set,
Hmm.
and we were ready to do it and try and take what we learned and put it to something new. But I was starting law school, so I was like, Brad, when I start law school, like I'm not going to be able to do custom magic stuff. So we basically had a month window where I could work on the magic set. So that's why Stars had that month constriction, which created a ton of unique things about that we went over in that episode.
Hmm.
This one was kind of during law school that I was creating it with Brad. So I probably started up in like as we got closer to winter break when I had like a nice pause and we could get some stuff rolling on it.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
then summer break, now that we've been on, is when we really pushed to kind of get a nice finished product.
Are you jumping on a call together and pounding out like 10 cards? Like how are you filling the set out?
Yeah, so we fill it out via like totally text based on Discord.
Oh, okay.
Basically, I have an MSE file and Brad has an MSE file.
Hmm.
Brad holds on to the master MSE file because he's like way better at the organization stuff,
Oh, okay.
keeping everything clean. He does way more of the like checking. Hey, we need these holes filled. Hey, we have a lot of this type of card. We have a lot of these tokens. He's like amazing at that stuff. It's stuff that I'm terrible at. Um, where I'm more of like I can hammer out like 10 commons and just knock them out and put them really rough
Hmm.
into the file. And then Brad can come back and say, "Oh, I'm tweaking this one to be here." I'm
Hmm.
being a little generous because, frankly, he doesn't tell me when he's making a tweak, and I usually don't notice until much later. I'm like, "Oh, hey, you made this a 2 drop instead of a 3 drop," and he's like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
I did that months ago." Um, so, but I'll put my MSE file in a Google Drive. He
Yeah.
copies over everything, reposts the master, and then we get to work again. And it's basically like in waves. Hey, here's 10 more cards. Add them to the master file, and
Hmm.
that's how we kind of do it. And he's making cards the whole time too. We actually have like a huge channel of just that's called Doodles, and that's basically
Hmm.
where we post cards. Hey, I made this. We can comment back and forth. Oh, I think this card's not really doing anything. Maybe add a little bit more juice to this card. Things like that.
Hmm. So are you like overpacking the set and then cutting down, or how do you go about like once you get closer to a full set? How do you sort of edit that?
It's kind of funny. So we do it in I would say 3 waves. We try and get all the commons, do a playtest.
Yeah.
Then we do all the uncommons, do a playtest, and then we start with rares. And sometimes we'll do an intermediate playtest in between those. With Wrenchmar and Stars, we playtested a ton at each level. Um, and even Stars in that month that we had, we actually playtested quite a bit still. And like we would add in a new theme
Hmm.
and we'd say, "Oh, this theme isn't working." We'd try and add in some more cards to adjust it to get that theme working. So we'd like playtest during adding in themes.
Mm-hmm.
But with New Requiem, it's like totally opposite. I think we finished Commons. We felt like our like baseline themes that we had been working on were good, like they functioned.
Hmm.
And from Uncommons onward, we just like didn't playtest at all. We just tried to do it. And I think it was kind of the feeling was it kind of captured our own like rebelliousness, basically, of like, I know we're supposed to play test, but like, F it, if you will. Like, we're just gonna do
Mm.
it how we do it and see what comes out. Um, One of the things we wanted for the set was for it to feel like rebellious in its own right, like a little unprofessional. Some of the artwork is a little bit more crass than like you could find in like a normal Magic the Gathering set.
Huh.
There's like middle fingers in the artwork and stuff like that. So like we kind of just let loose with this. Let this one like both the set is rebellious and then the structure of the set is rebellious in the fact that it is not your standard structure. We like at one point we
Mm.
were trying to design rares and mythics, and I was just like, Brad, do we need like do we have to do mythics? Like, well, who cares? And so we just cut out mythics. Everything's a rare that's higher than an uncommon. We were just like, who
Hell
cares?
yeah. That's fun. I just scrolled to Kickflip Koala.
Yeah, Kickflip Koala. He's great. That was like probably one of our best commons in playtesting. Just like this card nails it.
Ah.
Like this card is exactly what we need.
If I think of Sinistara, your last set, that was like, let us do 10 different color pairs and let's execute like a bunch of different themes that then overlap pretty well.
Hmm.
Is this more of like a kind of normalish set, not that many gold cards, kind of a traditional skeleton?
So this set's a 3-color set. It's
Oh,
a shard set.
okay.
I pitched bad on what if we did a 3-color set, but we didn't do it as a faction set. Because like so many times when you do a multicolor set, it
Hmm.
becomes a faction set.
Hmm.
Perfect example. Esper, Jund, Bant,
Yeah.
Naya, those are all factions.
Hmm.
And Brad was pretty into that idea of just like we have colors and the colors group together. So we have like a Bant theme, we have a Jund theme,
Yeah.
but there's nothing signaling that like these groups aren't interacting or these groups are competing in any way. Like
Hmm.
the theming is that there is a giant there's the Citadel, quote unquote, which is like the government of New Requiem, and then there's everybody else, and everybody else is trying to fight the Citadel,
Hmm.
and the Citadel is trying to keep everyone in their place. And each of the 3-color groups have like a way that they go about doing things, but they aren't competing with each other. You know, they're
Hmm.
not tone policing each other, I guess would be the term for it. So like the
Hmm.
Jund group is a little bit more violent. A lot of the Jund cards are like very militant, very aggressive. And the Bant cards tend to be a lot more of just like, hey, let's all go out and we're going to have a party and we're going to show the government that we aren't going to not enjoy ourselves because you're stopping us. Naya
Hmm.
tends to be like a little bit more of the punk rock. And then Grixis is the like hackers, coders.
All right. When you're drafting like a custom set or doing sealed with a custom set, often knowing all the things you should know is a difficult thing. You don't have a couple weeks of preview season to educate people on what every faction means and all the subtleties. So this is maybe more compatible with that, where people can pick up these gold cards. Hopefully, the gold cards distinguish themselves enough that people want to play them and want to stretch their mana in order to play them, but they don't have to like know going in that they have to build a artifacts matter deck if they want to play this 3-color card. They
Yeah.
can just sort of look at the cards individually and decide what to make.
Yeah. Like we kind of said at the top, the goal of the set was we wanted it to be simpler. We felt like Wrenchmar and Stars were
Hmm.
both like had high complexity, like some of the mechanics were high complexity.
Hmm.
And we also wanted it to be combat focused. And this kind of tied into the simpler. We wanted it to go back to like old school. You win the game by turning
Hmm.
creatures sideways, and you turn creatures sideways better than your opponent does, then you will have the edge.
So maybe like you don't have to say like, well, I need to get to 13 artifacts in my deck, most of which are sacrificable in order for my deck to function. Like you don't have to meet sort of more lofty gameplay goals in order to have like cool deck.
Right. So we started off thinking that if we wanted to be combat focused, we need battles. And
Oh.
Brad and I think I'm pretty vocal about this. I don't know if Brad is as vocal, but we both just
Hmm.
despise battles. I don't like designing them. I don't like having them on my board. I don't like anything really about them. No hate to battle lovers out there. I know they exist. So we just decided to totally scrap our original battles idea, and we did a take to the streets mechanic.
Okay.
For people who have followed Wrenchmar and have followed Stars, you will see the underlying theme of like we can't help ourselves, and we introduce an outside the game piece. So, take to the streets is an ability. A lot of times it happens when a creature enters. It can happen on a spell, but you'll see take to the streets, and then the reminder text. If you don't have a Watchtower emblem, you get one. During your next combat phase, you may attack the Watchtower.
So you have the Watchtower, but you can attack it.
Exactly.
Okay.
This would obviously come with some sort of special rule where like you can attack emblems or something. We included in the card. The opponent's not defending it, so there's no blocking. Like it's just a free attack.
Okay.
But there's also no damage being dealt. So like if you're attacking the Watchtower, then you aren't gaining life off your lifelink creatures.
Huh.
And the Watchtower is an emblem that has whenever a creature attacks this emblem, choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn. So you have three options. You can surveil one. You can put a +1/+1 counter on target creature that's attacking the Watchtower, or you can add 1 mana of any color. You don't lose this mana as steps and phases end.
So this is, I mean, it's technically attacking, but this is sort of like a crew thing almost, where I'm tapping my creatures during my turn to get some reward. That reward is pretty renewable. Does the Watchtower stick around, or does it get knocked down when you attack it?
So you'll attack it your one turn, and then after the turn when you're able to attack the Watchtower, it'll like go away, and basically you won't be able to attack it again. You can only attack it if you've taken to the streets, basically. So you have to continually keep taking to the streets if you want to get your advantage from the Watchtower.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm building out a couple creatures. They're probably small creatures are the ones that are the best at this, or the least costly, I guess. I can turn my excess chumpy creatures into stuff with Take to the Streets.
Yeah. That was the idea, is that we want to encourage players to attack. And the thing you can't do is encourage a player to make bad attacks.
Yeah.
So you need to offer them an off-ramp. Hey, we want you to be attacking every turn.
Yeah.
So here's a way that gets you to attack, even in situations where normally you wouldn't be able to. There's this thing, you go at it, it's not being blocked by anybody. And then instead of dealing damage, you get these like little incremental benefits. The cool thing is that you have like your early game creature, this like, let's say you have like a 2/2 lifelink, and eventually your 2/2 lifelink just isn't going to be able to attack anymore. Your opponent's going to play a 3/3, and your 2/2 lifelink is basically done doing anything of relevance.
Yeah. It's threatening to block. It's probably not blocking that often.
Exactly. The Watchtower gives you a reason. Go hit this. Now you get a +1/+1 counter on your lifelinker. Not only is it a better attacker next turn, but it's a better blocker in the future. And it gets creatures turning sideways, which is kind of the thing we wanted to focus on. We wanted people to turn their creatures sideways as much as they could.
I can only attack my own Watchtower, right?
Yeah, it's like you have your Watchtower, the opponent has their Watchtower, but mainly you're checking this like take to the streets component. Okay, take to the streets. I have my Watchtower, and now I'm unlocked and I can attack it. The image I always had is like you would flip over your Watchtower when you can attack it, or you would just take it off the battlefield and bring it back. It's like it's an outside the game piece, so however you want to track it is up to you. It's like a Planeswalker emblem, like the Chandra emblem that makes 300 Chandra emblems every time you tick her up. Like, however you want to track that is up to you, because it's not really going to impact the game as long as everybody remembers what's going on.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I'm trying to also anticipate, before I look at too many of these cards, like how expensive it is to take to the streets. Like, if you imagine when this creature enters, draw a card, that's like a relatively valuable thing. That's almost 2 mana worth of stuff right there.
Yep.
But taking to the streets is firmly below that. And I would say maybe fairly close to any one of these modes because like enter the battlefield, surveil 1. I get 1 surveil 1. I don't have to attack. I just get a surveil 1, right?
Hmm.
With the watchtower, I could instead create the watchtower and then a turn from now, or with some other creatures, attack the watchtower and get my surveil 1. But I had to tap a creature to get that. So it's almost like when this creature enters the battlefield, you may tap a creature. If you do, surveil 1. But I mean, it's more complicated than that. But just to try to get a sense of how expensive this is, all these abilities require tapping a creature. I have to have like a pretty wide board to be getting 2 or 3 of these modes without putting myself in a ton of danger. So it seems like taking to the streets is not something that I have to put a heavy cost on. I don't have to make like a 4 mana 2/2. I can make a 4 mana 3/4 or something. I don't know.
I think your thought process landed like almost precisely where we were at the entire time. Like
Okay.
we did not want the watchtower to feel like you were getting a full card. We wanted it to feel like a nice, like a small bump up to your card, and then the modality is kind of giving you some
Yeah.
extra cost. It's funny that you go with the 4 mana 2/2. White has a 3 white for a 3/3 that
Mm.
ETBs takes to the
Okay.
streets. So you're
Okay.
you're pretty spot on there. Like,
Yeah.
um, I think 4 mana 3/3 in white is pretty normal costing, and then the green creatures are obviously a little bit bigger.
Yeah, I would think that white card, 4 mana, 3/3, take to the streets white card is like, I mean, not in a negative way, like a low tier draft common. Like it's
Yes,
not a
yeah,
card that I want to play, but maybe I just want an extra card and this is there
mm,
for me.
yeah. And the idea is that like, okay, this is a card for the take to the streets deck. So like,
Hmm.
if the take to the streets deck sees this, it maybe goes from like that card's probably what a D, a C minus.
Yeah, I would say a pretty firm D.
So it's just like one of those cards that's going to bump up in that strategy. But I think you nailed
Hmm.
it. It's like not really it's not a chase common. It's not drawing you into this color.
Yeah. The like cheap flyer take to the streets is like the one you actually want.
Mm.
Whereas this, 4 mana 3/3 is the one that like, yeah, I guess I'll do this.
I take it as a very good thing that the goal
Yeah.
of that card was to be kind of that D C minus
Yeah. Yeah.
range, and that's exactly where you're putting it.
So the watchtower, does it go away at the end of my next turn or just after I've attacked it once? Once it gets hit, that's when it goes away.
So like technically I think the rules for the watchtower would be once you have the watchtower, you
Yeah.
technically always have this emblem. The ability to attack it is kind of the thing that's going and coming.
Huh.
But the rules text is during your next combat phase, you may attack the watchtower.
Oh,
This is so you can do things second main phase and still attack it.
funny. Yeah.
There's a few instance and sorceries that allow you to attack the watchtower basically.
Hmm.
So we wanted you to be able to cast an instant on your opponent's turn and still attack the watchtower. Something we learned in playtesting is that take to the streets is demanding. You need to
Yeah.
have a creature on board or else these cards stink.
Yeah.
Found out pretty quickly like take to the streets needs to give you a creature if that's the main thing that the card is doing,
Hmm.
or it needs to be like a secondary function of the card.
Hmm.
Hey, the card's done its thing. Now I have like 7 mana. Oh, cool. I'll take to the streets as a way to spend some of that mana.
Yeah. And then the main gameplay benefit of this, well, in terms of not for the player, but for us as the designer, we're tapping down more creatures, kind of like teamwork in Marvel. Like teamwork, I
Yep.
think, has been successful. That's like kicker, except you tap creatures to pay for the kicker cost. I think that has been quite successful in result like more boards have a tapped creature or two.
Yeah. I gotta credit Marvel because I think teamwork has also made board states in Marvel more interesting because you're trying to figure out, okay, I can
Yeah.
tap these creatures to get this bonus. I think Marvel board states have been more interesting than many recent sets for me of just
Yeah.
like this
Yeah.
feels like old school drafting where it's kind of
Mhm.
trying to grind out that little extra advantage when you're attacking.
Yeah. Yeah. And being conscious of your teamwork costs is like a big part of the gameplay.
Hmm.
So being conscious, I guess, of what creatures will I afford to be able to attack with? I have to think pretty hard about all of my creatures whenever I'm taking to the streets.
Take to the Streets also has this added bonus of if you have an attack trigger, now you can get that attack trigger for
Oh, okay.
quote unquote free.
Yeah. So my take to the streets deck is going to have multiple attack trigger cards in it, hopefully. Okay.
Yeah. one of the mechanics that's a returning mechanic that we introduced to kind of facilitate that was raid, which just
Oh,
like
yeah, standardize it.
kind of made perfect
Okay.
sense. So if you attack this turn, then the card has its special ability due to raid. I think
Yeah.
everyone's pretty familiar with raid itself.
Yeah, that seems like a good move. Instead of having a bunch of random ass attack triggers, let's just say raid is here. If you're playing Take to the Streets, definitely keep an eye out for those raid cards too.
Mhm. Raid was like a huge flavor hit. It
Sure.
worked with rebels trying to like raid the watchtower. It worked with the
Yeah.
citadel trying to raid like rebel
Mm,
groups. So it kind of works across the board. It's present in every single color.
funny.
Everybody's raiding everybody in New Requiem.
Yeah, yeah. When you first said raid, I actually thought of like the Megacorp, like with their SWAT teams or whatever. This is a police raid or whatever. But I
Mhm.
guess, yeah, you could see it in the other way too, where one gang is stealing from another gang or something.
Yeah, or like you're raiding, the Citadel and you're
Yeah.
taking like they got has some this the idea is the Citadel has like all the best technology, they have the money, so you raid the
Mm.
Citadel, you get some of their tech and or you get some of their information. There's like a
Hmm.
the Grixis color combination is got a lot of people that are like interested in acquiring and trading and selling information. The Grixis color pair also has a bunch of people on bikes
Oh,
in a
okay.
Joel Schumacher esque. Joel Schumacher was a big inspiration for me while doing the set. So think
Hmm.
Batman Forever and Lost Boys. And
Hmm.
if you're familiar with Joel Schumacher, he does like motorcycles everywhere. So one of the mechanics we wanted to introduce because we're big on like the idea of like you need something to smooth out draws to keep games flowing and keep things interesting.
Hmm.
So we decided to just throw in cycling, and we set a goal of ourselves of every cycling card will have a motorcycle on it. And, and I'm sure if you went through the set, you will definitely find some cycling cards that don't have motorcycles on them. But
Okay.
there are a ton of motorcycles, and if there is a motorcycle in the art, it almost certainly has cycling on it.
Hmm.
In fact, I think there's a card called Motorcycle Garage. It's a land with cycling one. Like we put a lot of cycling in this or motorcycles in the set.
That's funny. I like that.
And then I guess to round out the returning mechanics, we also brought back a mass, and we did it as a mass soldiers.
Oh, okay. Sure. Yeah.
I don't really think there's a whole lot to say about that, except we did add in one little neat touch in
Hmm.
that a couple of the creatures in the set are actually army types. So when you amass, you get to
Oh,
put the
weird.
counters on like an
Huh.
actual creature, which
Yeah.
was something that Brad came up with designing an uncommon, and I was like, that is freaking so cool. Like we're definitely
Hmm.
doing more of this in the set. It's not like
Hmm.
pervasive. Now you can give your army an ability. You can give your army a keyword. There's a
Yeah.
bunch of stuff that your army doesn't just like really die to a bounce.
Yeah.
You lose the counters, but like you don't lose your entire creature. So I thought it was a really smart evolution on the amass
Hmm.
idea.
Yeah, and this amass stuff is kind of the opposite of Take to the Streets, which is maybe flavor appropriate.
Yep.
Like, I don't want to be stacking up one big creature. That's awful for Take to the Streets.
Yeah. There's even some Esper cards that I think care about having a creature with like power 4 or greater, which felt very on theme for like the going tall strategy, but maybe was like a little unique kind of taste of the color pie. Like how many times does Esper the one about care about having a big creature kind of stuff?
Hmm.
One of the things we found with a mass is that like a mass is just that's what the deck is. Like when your deck is a mass, all you do is amass a creature, right? You're amassing an army. So we kind of tried to lean into that of like Esper is the controlling deck, so you're trying to amass your big finisher, get control of the game, and now I'm gonna just repeatedly attack you with like a 5/5 that keeps growing. That was kind of
Hmm.
the logic behind it. So there's some control elements. We tried to introduce some unique things to it. But if there's one thing that like kind of a takeaway is that like a mass just is what it is. Like there's only
Hmm.
so much intrigue you can add to the thing. But I think it does pair nicely with the dichotomy of like the rebels trying to go wide in most of their decks and
Hmm.
take to the streets and things like that.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah. What else we have for mechanics?
This gets us to we got two new mechanics that we'll bring up, which
Okay.
Okay, so I guess I'll leave it to you, Tim. What sounds more fun to talk about? A mechanic called Uprising or a mechanic
Hmm.
called Mural?
Let's do Uprising.
Okay, so Uprising was I think this started out as like the word. We went for the word, and it became whenever something happens, you look for your condition, and then if you control at least one rebel, so on
Hmm.
instants and sorceries, this looks to control if a rebel, but a lot of times these are on the ETB of a creature, so it'll say another rebel, and then you'll get your bonus effect. So we have like Diehard Dame is a common 3 black for a 3/3 flying, and it has Uprising. When it enters, if you control another rebel, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand.
Hmm.
And this card itself is a demon rebel. She's got like evil demony
Oh, okay. Hell
wings,
yeah.
doing like the rock on sign.
For Uprising, the trigger condition can be anything. Like it could be when I enter, when I attack, when I die.
Yeah,
Okay. Uprising is just check if you have another rebel. That's all that Uprising always means.
yeah, exactly. And I
Okay.
think this came from Brad's experience with some of the other sets. I think Brad
Okay.
had noticed this like threshold 1 for creature type matters
Hmm.
sets of late.
Hmm.
He really liked it. He thought it was like engaging. It got the player caring about something they normally don't care about it. It got the player
Hmm.
like identifying with the theme. So like we've been calling the set Rebels for a long time. You're supposed to feel rebellious. You're supposed to want to be fighting the man. Getting people clued into like the rebel creature type is pretty important to getting them in like the flavor of the set. And I think Uprising does that in a way that's like good gameplay and like a nice workman like mechanic.
Yeah. Kind of like Raid. This sort of
Hmm.
functions as a here's just a thing to look for when you're trying to get more of a certain kind of card. Like,
Right.
do I think I have a lot of rebels? If so, let me try to find those Uprising cards.
Mm. I think, I guess maybe like it's threshold 1, threshold 2, because if you have a creature with uprising in your hand, usually that creature is itself a rebel. So
Yeah.
sometimes you have to play them without their uprising in order to get more uprising triggers down the line.
Hmm. Yeah. If you have all Uprising, you lose
Yeah.
out a little bit.
Most of the time, I'll get the uprising on this creature, but some of the time, I might have to decide to eat it and just play it as, a 3/3 flyer or something, which isn't ideal, but you got to do it.
Yeah. I guess another thing, because we just had similar stuff in Marvel, there's like a lot of villains matter, a lot of heroes matter in that set. I think part of the challenge with that mechanic can be being able to guess what creature types I have. Some number of cards in Marvel you just cut if you don't have enough villains, or you cut if you don't have enough heroes. Or there's
Hmm.
even a card that wants you to have some of each. This seems like it might have some of the like ally problem from Battle for Zendikar, where hey, this guy with a kite is a ally, and this guy isn't. Why is that? Do you have a set? Do you have like a heuristic that people can look for, or is that sort of like a just read your cards better?
That's funny. I'm like trying to look at it, and there isn't a good heuristic, I would say, because like
Hmm.
I'm looking at cards. Kickflip Koala, I think you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, would
That's
he
a
be a rebel or
beast.
not? Hmm.
That's a beast rebel, I guess.
Oh,
But
okay.
then Party Ape is an ape citizen, so that could be a frustrating. That could be a frustrating draft for
he
people.
he hasn't been radicalized yet. He's still
Yeah,
having fun partying. Okay.
yeah. He's partying. He's not here. But the koala, his kickflips are like sticking it to the man. You know.
Yeah. I guess I see like this Slide and Matcha City Explorers, and they look maybe straight out of Jet Set Radio.
Hmm.
And they aren't rebels. So I think maybe the heuristic of are they doing a cool X Games thing doesn't help me there.
Nope, doesn't work.
Huh.
I think that is a really fun thing to think about. Maybe like a lesson learned of like, if you are going to key off that, it is nice to have a little, and kind of looking at what Marvel did of like, it is so easy to identify like, that's a hero.
Yeah.
That's Captain America. That's a
Yeah.
hero.
Yeah.
Spider Man's a hero.
Yeah.
Doctor
Yeah.
Doom is obviously a villain. I feel like that's really
Yeah.
good.
Modoc, who's like a giant flying
Yeah.
head and who's cackling and shooting lasers. Well, that's probably a villain. Yeah.
That's a really good lesson. That's a good lesson learned. But, as far as flavor, it's hard to tell who's rebelling and who's just, being a goofball.
Yeah, that's true. Who's just having
Yeah.
fun and who's having fun for a cause.
We do have a Roger Funnyman Cannon, who's this clown with a bazooka. He's a rebel, so I feel like that's a pretty clean. You
Oh.
could see you would look at the art on that card and be like, that guy's a rebel. I know that. So
Oh, okay.
some of it's hidden.
All right, we got one more, right?
Yep. Our last mechanic was like the latest entry to the set.
Hmm.
It's a mural, and it kind of goes with graffiti. Sorry, my dog is currently coughing. I can't wait to move out of this apartment. This apartment is like, my dog has like terrible allergies because they refuse to replace the window unit, which is filthy. So I'm really excited to move out of this apartment.
All right.
So mural is an ability that's on only 6 cards in the set, but it's associated with graffiti. So mural is other graffiti you control that don't share a name with this one gain the following abilities. And then there's always an ability. So I'll just read. The green one has mural, and then when this graffiti enters, create a food token. And then there's a bunch of enchantments in the set that are graffiti. We wanted it to be kind of similar to shrines in a way, of like, it's another thing that you can kind of look at and do on the side, but you're not going to do it every draft. It's kind of one of those things to shoot for, if you will. But we also didn't really want them to be legendary, especially like the idea of graffiti or a tag is that you can put it
Have
a bunch
lot
of
it.
places. Yeah. And it always kind of was a little restrictive that graffiti or not graffiti shrines were legendary. It made it a little bit harder to like really load up on them. We have, it looks like 16 graffiti in the set. 6 of them have mural.
Wow. Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Only some of them have mural. Huh.
Yes. Not all of the graffiti have mural. It's just you have these,
Whoa.
one in each color and then a colorless one that all have mural.
So mural are the things that actually share their own ability with other graffiti.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
The black tag is demonic tutor for 5 mana. So you pay 5 mana and you get to search your library for something.
Okay.
Which is pretty intimidating if you have another graffiti to follow it up with. Now you're searching your library 2 times. That's like quite the thing to shoot for.
Yeah, that green tag gave me like a much more mellow.
Yes.
Like, I get to get an extra food token. I don't know, man. Whereas this is, the black one is, you need some to be extra cheap so that you can get them down early.
Right. And the idea is like, there's this dream of like a 5-color deck where you're playing your black graffiti, tutoring a card, searching for a food. Then next turn you're paying your 1 mana for a green graffiti, getting a food token, but then also getting to search your library for 1 mana. That's like, that's the dream.
Yeah. Okay. There's a lot of graffiti, but only some murals.
Exactly. So
what are some of the other graffitis, I guess?
They do all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
And the goal was to kind of have them where every deck's kind of interested in this graffiti thing. So you're having to fight a little bit. But we have Painted Infamy, which is 2 white, and it's a banishing light. Thrilling Artistry, which is 1 red for a tormenting voice, and it has Uprising. And the Uprising is just like, it gives something haste. So it's like very small things. Turf War lets you have creatures fight, and then you can sacrifice it to put a +1/+1 counter on a creature.
So some of these are just like this Painted Infamy is just web up. It's just Banishing Light.
Yeah. But now it has graffiti.
But it has an extra tag, and then if I want to engage with that a little bit, if I can get my white tag down first, then my O-ring also gets some extra bonus. Okay.
And the idea was that these like mural cards are all like fine on their own, like they're serviceable. Yeah. And then as soon as you have like 1 or 2 other graffiti, it kind of creates this exciting, effect.
Yeah, that is fun
that you can do. But all the other graffiti kind of, they're just enchantments that do something serviceable for the set. And it was a good way to like get enchantments in the set, because a lot of times that's Brad and I's blind spot, is we kind of forget about enchantments. So graffiti definitely helps us with that too. Graffiti was something that we started very early on, and we had this idea of we wanted graffiti, and then it went away once we moved away from the color matters kind of thing, and then Brad kind of thought it up and brought it back for the end of the set. We kind of felt like the set just was a little bit same notey throughout, and we just needed a
Okay.
little bit something extra to add a little bit more intrigue to the draft, create something a little bit more interesting. We also noticed that the Naya deck was like kind of not doing anything.
Okay.
The Naya game plan was the raid game plan, and it started to kind of just feel like the same thing as Jund, but with less of the cards to do the Jund thing.
Oh.
So the idea was, okay, we'll add in this graffiti element and have it care about some enchantment stuff, and give Naya this kind of out to being the 5-color deck as well.
Hmm. Let me try to think through the landscape here. So we have raid, take to the streets, 1-2 punch of an actual fully aggressive thing, and then an outlet for creatures that can be aggressive or might not be. We've got amass soldiers, which is sort of like a tag on to get a couple an extra creature here and there for chump blocking, or to build up a big thing, or to build up like an army piece of cardboard. You had some cycling, which is just kind of, kind of standard fixing-y sort of thing. You got a fun twist on it. Uprising, which is specifically like a creature type matters thing. And then mural, which is more sideways. Hey, dip into this once every 8 drafts kind of thing.
Yeah.
The gap seems to be spells. Like, what do you put on instants and sorceries? I guess you can technically put take to the streets or a mass on those. You could put a cycling on those.
Yeah, I think if you're like are the spells matters player and you're really looking for like what am I supposed to be doing during this
Yeah.
set, you're probably looking at Grixis. Grixis is the cycling color.
Okay.
A lot of the cards say like, oh, if you discard a card, then I get
Mm-hmm.
+1/+1, or I get a special
Mm-hmm.
ability. So it's got that discarding aspect. We did try really hard to pump up the discard matters deck,
Oh.
and kind
Uh-oh.
of make it interesting. I
Uh,
feel like in the past the discard matters decks has kind of just you play out all your discarding things and you
hmm.
see if your opponent's at 0 life, and if they aren't, you lose.
Hmm.
So we really pushed on like trying to make sure that the discarding deck is able to refill its hand a lot. Like you're able to keep the engine going rather than just discarding, run out of steam, and die. I would say amass and sight and then discard matters were two themes that when you're playtesting with your commons,
Hmm.
they don't really work. Amass just
You
doesn't.
kind of need some powerful cards to make those
Yeah,
worth it. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Amass just doesn't have the density. Cycling, you need the synergy pieces.
Yeah. That are uncommons. Yeah.
Yeah, and both of them in like doing our Brad and I do a lot of sealed pool testing. So like
Mm-hmm.
get a sealed pool, see what cards are attractive to you, see what cards aren't attractive to you, and adjust. In a lot of our sealed pool testing, both the cycling deck and the amass deck, we notice us being drawn to them now that we have the uncommons and rares that kind of make those decks actually work and do
Hmm.
something.
Okay.
Where obviously when you're doing common sealed pool, the thing that's going to be attractive is play creatures and attack with those creatures, which is the
Yeah.
raid, uprising, and take to the streets strategies.
Yeah. So I guess compared to maybe other cyberpunky sets, we're not seeing like an artifact theme. It doesn't sound like.
Nope. Yeah, there
Okay.
is no artifact theme in the set.
Hmm.
We did the enchantment theme a little bit, but it's not
Yeah.
super
Yeah.
strong. Like the
Hmm.
focus really is on we wanted it to be creatures and attacking with creatures.
Hmm. Okay. And so I guess like the interactions between characters, between creatures is like a big focus here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we really like I said, we felt like simpler also meant more combat focused in our eyes. And maybe that's
Hmm.
not true.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Simpler and combat focused went together in our eyes, and that's where we really
Hmm.
wanted to push. I think Wrenchmar and Stars of Sinistera both had a lot more of that. Like Wrenchmar had a huge artifact matters theme to it. I think that's a space that a lot of custom designers are
Yeah,
drawn to
absolutely. Yeah.
because artifacts have tons and tons of knobs, and it's a great. I think it's a great way to get into custom designing a set, is to kind of start from an artifact basis.
Yeah, yeah.
And then in Stars, like the mechanics were just like so intense and all over the place. I feel like the games could get pretty crazy with the third act being such like a tilting point. So we kind of wanted to try and bring everything back to basics of play your creatures, attack with those creatures, get your opponent's life total down to 0. There's less like huge swingy plays, I think.
Okay.
That maybe are there's less things that you won't be expecting. You know, it's a lot more plain to the board than like I've been holding on to this bomb rare and boom, all your creatures are dead and mill half your library or something insane. You know.
A little less Strixhaven, which was all
Yeah, a little less Strixhaven.
all the big spells. Yeah, early game doesn't matter. Here, early game does matter. Alrighty, anything else we want to hit on the way out? I feel like I have a good picture of the set and what it took to make it.
Yeah, I just have like some maybe cool thing notes, and some of these we've gone over. So one thing Brad wanted to note was we have a ton of cameo mechanics at Rare, and his reasoning that he wanted me to share on the pod was it's because we're irresponsible. But I also think that kind of goes into there was especially by the end of it, there was a ton of just like F it in the Discord chat of just like. I like cameo mechanics, so I'm putting cameo mechanics in the set. And
Fair
Brad's
enough.
a huge cameo mechanics enjoyer. We do
Fair
have some multicolor matters cards in the set, so like cards that just say if you have a multicolor permanent, I do something extra, or I enter with a +1/+1 counter or something. And that's because it's a 3-color set. There's a ton of gold cards in the set, and then we also have a cycle of enemy color rares, which is very off script for. We used, I think it was Dragons of Tarkir's Set Skeleton to kind of, as our baseline, and at Rare you only had, I think, ally color pairs, and we just decided to do a full cycle of 10, 5 ally, 5 enemy rare cards, and I would say that there's a special reason for that, but it was mostly just like I kind of just started designing some enemy color cards, and I was like, Brad, I don't think I'm allowed to do this, and Brad was like, nah, just do it.
Okay, there you go.
So we did that. So I don't even know if those are playable in the set as far as just like what you have mana wise, but they're present.
Alrighty, well, that was a good overview of what you got going on here. Before we get out of this episode though and take to the streets and get a jog going or something,
yeah.
I want to remind people of our design challenge. You only have a couple days left to submit for this, but we'd love to have your card. This is Incarnation Day. Design an incarnation that could be part of a cycle. An incarnation is usually like an elemental, usually represents some sort of abstract concept. We had anger, we had valor, there have been newer ones as well. The idea here is these are usually pretty big, pretty splashy cards that are cycled out. So you're going to submit one card, but we should be able to imagine that 4 other cards, maybe 10 other cards, could exist that meet this pattern. There's a whole bunch of bonus points for it. If you want some extra direction, you want some extra flavor to go for, find those on the Discord. Discord's also where you're going to submit your card, and that'll be due July 31st, so you only have a day or two to get to that. But we would love to see it. And I think that's about it for the pod for the week. Thanks for coming on again, getting my double dose of MW.
This is probably I'm moving at the beginning of the month next month, and then school starts at the end of August. So
all right, this was our window.
Yeah, I'll probably be going dark pretty soon.
We had to get our double dose while we could.
Nice.
Any movie recs or did you see the Odyssey yet?
No, I'm seeing the Odyssey. So as of record, I'm seeing the Odyssey tomorrow. Which kind of dates us, kind of doesn't. But I did. So this week, I actually have a movie that I watched this week that I enjoyed and I hadn't seen before. It's called The Adjustment Bureau. I don't know if you remember when that came out, Tim. It was like 2007, 2008.
Okay.
It's got Matt Damon and Emily Blunt in it. The premise is this guy learns that his life is being controlled by this like weird agency thing. But the movie is like very over the top. It has Brad actually said that he thinks I like the movie because it has Rebels energy. It has a lot of effort energy of like, I
Oh,
like this thing, so I'm putting it in the movie. I really enjoyed it. I felt like it was not good, but weird, and I'm all for weird now when I'm watching a movie. I want it to be weird.
wow. Adjustment Bureau.
Hmm.
Oh, it's a Philip K. Dick story. Interesting.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a ton of sense, actually.
Alrighty. Well, we'll have to try to catch that one. If you want to talk about New Requiem here, or you just want to talk, this we're in the middle of another spoiler season, so that's always really fun to break down. Find us on the Discord. But most of all, thanks everyone for listening.